You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Extreme Weight Loss After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Extreme Weight Loss After Show.
I feel like I need a cowboy hat right now and a guitar. Hello, we are here with AfterBuzz TV once again streaming live, and we are here talking about extreme weight loss. Season 4, Episode 3, with our country guy, Jayce. This was actually his song.
He sounds good.
Which is pretty amazing. My name is Morgan Martin, and I am here with
Jackie Powell. Hey, everybody.
And we also have an amazing guest. He is a personal trainer, group trainer. He does it all. We have Nick Iadenisi. I got your name right.
Not bad at all.
Absolutely. So we have lots of things to talk about. I mean, I was just absolutely in love with Jay since day one.
Yeah, absolutely. He was cool. Country singer, country man. I'm from Texas, so I like them country folks.
Country, down from Nashville.
Yes, yes, yes. The Southern hospitality, man.
Absolutely. And so one of the first things I want to talk about is when we always start this off, we always like to hear about why they are doing this. And for him, he had a lot of whys and reasons. One, of course, obviously being a songwriter. And then he had his son and a fiance. So he had a lot of things going on.
A lot of stuff going on. And I say every time we have our show that my emotions are all over the place. I've said it in the first episode, the second episode. I'm going to say it again. I was on an emotional roller coaster, and I always get anxiety. But good, but good.
It is. It's really good. And so he actually in the first phase had a goal of losing 118 pounds.
Right.
And his one motivating factor that really just drove him, not only in that phase, but throughout the entire year, was his son. And the one line he kept repeating was, his son said to him, he said, "Dad, you deserve this."
Yeah, it was really emotional. I really like that. As we've seen in most of the episodes, there always needs to be that motivation to keep them going on. And his son was definitely what was motivating him throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what I thought was crazy on the first episode, too, he was playing his guitar, you know, and Chris comes out with his cowboy hat, which I loved. But what was crazy is Jayce had mentioned the guitar couldn't even sit on his lap because his belly was so big. And then throughout the episode, you saw him being able to play the guitar on his lap. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and Nick, as a trainer, I know having and getting into not just like training people, but actually getting into their lives and their why of like, why are you doing this? How important is that when someone is first starting getting into wanting to, you know, change their lifestyle?
I mean, it's just one of the first things you really have to understand when you get involved with somebody. And, you know, his son, like I said, his son was his driving factor, but at the end of the day, it's because he deserved it. And there's got to be a realm of self-prioritization and understanding that he can't be the potential best father he can be. He can't be the best husband or best country singer he could be unless he really focuses on getting himself where he needed to be. So I just thought it was a great turning point in understanding, like, hey, I need to prioritize myself for this moment because putting everything else in front of me stresses me out. I go to food and cigarettes, and I'm not being a good example to my son. So, you know, prioritizing himself and making him, you know, he set his goal and he went after it, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
What I think is kind of crazy, you brought up his smoking habit that he had. I never knew that if you quit smoking that you gain more weight.
Right.
Do you know much about that, Nick?
Yeah, so smoking actually, it kind of tricks your metabolism into going faster, basically.
Wow.
So when you quit smoking, your body's forced to kind of work on its own without the nicotine kickstarting your metabolism. So it does make it more difficult to regulate your metabolism, and that's where nutrition comes in so importantly. And then also oxygenation and the cardio, and really making that kickstart. So
yeah, so he kind of had two things going against him, having to obviously kick his smoking habit, which is very obviously difficult to do, and then obviously battling with the weight loss as well. And I think what's so interesting to me is that, you know, where this all came from was the start of when he had that really bad divorce. And it was heartbreaking because you can see how much he loved his son, and as much as his son was always a driving factor for him to keep going and keep motivating, the one thing that kept bringing him back was the stress of the custody battle with his wife, or his ex-wife.
Yeah, and I thought it was really awesome. Like we've always said, Chris uses the things that tear the people down to motivate them. And I thought it was really cool when we saw him working at Red Rock, that big place where there was concert being held. He used it. He was like, you want to be a country star? Okay, you need to sit down in every seat of the stadium. How many rows were there?
There were a lot. I was like, good night. That is seats for days.
And he had to tap and sit down in every single one. But it was really awesome. Chris always does that. He finds what the people love the most and what's the most challenging, and he kind of intertwines them, which I love about Chris when he does that.
I mean, it's talking like about the psychological connection and how far and this is so much more than just a physical, you know, weight loss challenge. It's such a psychological, just breaking down boundaries, getting super uncomfortable, permitting growth. I mean, that's ultimately, this is a complete growth show. It's not just about losing weight, you know, it's about changing his relationship with his son, setting his ultimately living a longer life because of this 1 year that he made the decision to. It's going to just change the direction of so many different things. So
absolutely. And I think in terms of that, talking about just completely changing your life, and Chris just kept saying, like, this is your year of transformation, not just about losing weight or getting down to the size that you want, but really transforming and overcoming fears. And one of the biggest fears for Jayce was swimming.
Yes.
Swimming. And it was just, you know, you could tell it's something that he is just put off and wanted no part of. I mean, the look in his eyes when he would even see water was just like, he was mortified.
Yeah, he was tensing up. He was trying to, Chris was holding him and he was floating, and Chris had him, but his body was like this. He didn't want to move. He was very tense. And he did look really scared. That's a scary thing. If you almost drown when you're a little kid, I really wouldn't want to get back in a pool either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I give a lot of credit to Chris too, you know, just the patience. You know, it's not an easy thing to deal with, and sometimes I think a lot of people take those things for granted. You know, being able to just swim and walk and move and be, you know, it's very difficult to try to put yourself in that position. So Chris's patience and then Jayce, just the ability again to psychologically overcome that. You know, it just kept stacking up on top of things, you know, and I just thought it was great how he just, Chris used it to build off of and, again, ultimately move forward and just break down those barriers that just held him down for 30 years of his life.
Yeah, and he did float. At the end, he ended up floating.
And I think Emily, I was going to say fiance, is actually his wife now.
His wife now, they're married.
Congratulations.
Yay.
I think she tweeted and she was just saying how endearing it was to see, you know, Chris holding up Jayce in that moment and that breaking down that wall of trust of, like, I think that was even a turning point you saw from client to trainer of, like, you know what, Chris was like, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And you saw Jayce in that moment be like, all right, here we go. And I just loved that moment of him just holding him there in that water. That was amazing to me.
And that's what Chris said. He was like, this takes trust. You have to trust me. And he had to just let it go and trust Chris, which trust might be really hard for him considering what happened in his past with his ex-wife. So I just thought that was a good moment.
If I could just add on to that, you know, Morgan, you said it's that client to trainer aspect. You know, at that moment, it wasn't client to trainer. It turned client to friend or client to family.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a strong bond between, you know, a trainer and a client. They become, you know, they have a bond that just, you know, like I said, he helped him set the course of the rest of his life and put the old life behind him. So it's a big deal right there.
Yeah. I love that. And of course, I mean, moving on to phase 2 of the next few months, I mean, he was going through a lot of transformations, and one of the biggest drives, again, the swimming in the water never goes away, but his milestone was, and his motivation was going to Tahiti.
Yes, that was really intense. I was like, no, don't trick him like that. Don't do it. I was kind of worried at first. I'm like, you're going to just, this guy is fearful of drowning, and you're just going to leave him out in the ocean like that? And let's not say, or not to mention, Chris did not mention him smoking. We noticed in phase 1 that he did sneak a cigarette, which was a big deal. And I was laughing with Morgan earlier. I was telling her, well, it's not as, I guess the snack bar is not that bad from the last episode that we watched. I think smoking takes it all.
Yeah. And I think what was tough is, I mean, in phase 1, he actually was down 100 pounds, which is great, but his goal was 118.
Yeah, he missed the mark.
So it's going into this second phase, knowing that you didn't quite hit the mark, even being in boot camp, and then having to go back to your home environment and even kick it into gear even more. Even as a trainer, Nick, how difficult do you think it is when somebody's like taken out of, you know, when you're in a confined environment where it's just you, your trainer, your nutrition coaches, and then that's it, to now being placed back into the lifestyle that, you know, you once had before you were so confined? And
this is one of the biggest challenges I have. I always tell, you know, my clients, friends, anyone that asks, you know, depending on how often I work with someone, say that it's, you know, 3-4 hours a week. You know, if I'm working with you 3 hours a week, there's 168 hours in the week. You know, add that up, it's those 3 or 4 hours that I'm with you, it's 164 hours. For the rest of the week, you could be doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing. It's about habit development, and, you know, Chris really helped him, again, break down the psychological barriers to develop the habits that he need to, and again, just continue to not look back and just continue to look forward. And part of our job is to see potential in people. So when I thought, you know, when he swam away from him and let him go, he's like, you know, again, that's his job, to see his potential and what he could be, and not allow, you know, Jayce to see what he is and get afraid. No, like, I see what you can be, and I'm gonna make you be there. So that's part of the job for, you know, for Chris, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think, you know, in phase 2, there was a lot that happened in phase 2. So not only, you know, getting to Tahiti, but prior to that, like we talked about, the whole hiring a private investigator.
Man, I wish I could do that.
Mess around.
Man, I wish I could do that.
To stalk his life, and, you know, he was in that corner smoking away. But you know, you see, it's like, yes, private investigator, and that seems so like, oh, you're all up in my life, but you could see how heartbreaking and aggravating it was, even for, you know, for Emily, because, you know, she was like, you know, he promised me that he would stop smoking, and it wasn't just like a thing for her. You can see how much she cared about him. So it was like he needed to have that revealed in order to really get to the next step.
Have you ever hired a private investigator to go spy on one of your clients?
I want to contract one as soon as I can. I'm about to contract one and just have them follow everybody. Man, that'd be great.
What about smokers? Have you ever had a client that smokes cigarettes?
Oh yeah, and then there's different ways you have to deal with it. Like it's not just. It depends on what their motives and their goals are. If you know, if it's to really live a long, if they had something that humbled them out, you know, like a sickness or a disease or something that really scared them, it's a little bit. You know, easier to handle and develop. But if not, if someone's just like, you know, I know I need to get in shape, but this, and if they don't have that hard conviction of like, hey, I need to do something serious now, I need to do something drastic, or I might die, I might have a, you know, I'm setting a bad example for my kids. Like, it's hard to break through that wall. So, you know, in this realm, you know, lies always come out at some point. It depends on how ugly they are, you know. In this case, it was in front of national TV. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. You know, I thought it needed to be revealed, like you said. So.
Yeah, and I think too, it's always interesting. We all have those triggers, and so for him, going back, those triggers always stem back to the stress of work, and even more so the stress of his ex-wife and the custody battle. And, you know, even when, of course, we didn't hear the conversation that he had with his ex-wife over the phone. Obviously, for legal reasons, they weren't able to actually allow us to hear it. But you could just see the look on Chris's face when he was listening back to that voicemail. And you could tell whatever that woman said on the other end of the phone just, like, crushed his heart.
Yeah, it seemed like it was something really serious.
Real quick, one thing I kind of wish they would have done a better job at was it just kind of breaking down the how bad stress can be on somebody. You know, not even just for Jayce, but anyone that's watching. You know, if you can use that opportunity to get across to millions of how important it is to be stress-free or to exercise to regulate your cortisol levels and really the science behind it and how it destroys people. I think they could have done a little bit better job at that. I wish they did, but you know, ultimately, again, you know, it was on Jayce. But anyway.
No, that's good to bring to, like, obviously, you know, condensing everything into one show, but that is that's a huge factor for many people, and you could see what that stress levels, what that did to him, and ultimately, that was the thing that kept, like, pushing him back, and he needed to get past that in order to really get to the goals that he wanted.
And I think too what we see from just all the 3 episodes that we've seen so far, it's people and what people have to say. It really triggers these emotions for these people that are gaining all this weight. So I think people need to be careful about what they say and how they treat people, because it's just insane. All the 5 people that we've seen from all these episodes, they're all down and out because of something that they're either hiding or something that somebody keeps saying to them, like, you're a fat this or that. It really gets them, and the stress keeps building up, just like you said.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of superstars on this episode. I mean, even going to Ryan Lochney, who
Olympic gold medalist,
and then not only using him as a motivating factor to really help him overcome the swimming, but he gave him his Olympic goggles.
He needs to sell those on eBay.
No,
That's terrible.
Get that money. Sell them on eBay. Sell them on eBay.
No, that's going to be like lifelong motivation.
Yeah.
I wonder, does it, like when he goes swimming in the pool, he goes and he puts those goggles on? He's like,
I would every time. Are you kidding me?
It's a good reminder. It's a good reminder of, you know, again, what he had to break down. And I hope that he always holds on to that and what he actually accomplished that day. And, you know, those goggles stand for a lot more than just goggles, obviously, or Olympic gold medal goggles. They're, you know, they're a pretty important, pivotal point in his life right there.
Yeah, and Chris even said that moment was his proudest moment of Jayce. He was just like, this is my proudest moment that Jayce let go of the dock and kept swimming and kept swimming, so.
And then, so we've got Ryan, but then we've also got Gretchen Wilson, who also came. And that moment was so great because you could just see when she walked in the room, his face just lit up. And not only that, you can tell she was really digging, like, his music and his lyrics and just his heart behind everything that he does. And so that was another really, really, really great moment to see.
You know, it was crazy. He said that was the first time that he stood up and performed in years. That's crazy, because normally he sits down and he doesn't have the strength or the energy to stand up through a whole performance. This is his first time standing up. I thought that was insane.
Yeah.
It's definitely a big deal. And what I just saw was just like different levels and layers of Jayce just being unlocked. You know, parts of him that have maybe never been unlocked before in his entire life. And again, what that does, it allows him to see what he could potentially be. And then, you know, even again, you know, people again take that for granted, where they don't quite understand the importance of being able to stand up and do something. I mean, if you look into you know, the science and psychology behind power stances and posture, it's a whole different self-esteem realm if you're able to stand up and do something and project yourself to a crowd rather than sit down. You have a different control over the crowd and yourself, your emotional. I mean, even in terms of taking oxygen and vocally, it's a big deal. So it really, you know, again, people. Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to check my posture.
There you go.
Posture's good.
So again, that's another layer that was just unlocked right there. You know what I mean? And then breaking through the swimming, that was able. Just there's so many different things there that I was just very impressed by, and I was very uplifting, and encouraged by. So.
Yeah, and his wife now, fiance then, she has just been so by his side throughout the entire thing, and you could see how supportive she was. I mean, every moment, I mean, when he had some type of pivotal moment, for the most part, you would see her on the other end of the camera.
She was really supportive.
Absolutely. And so just to watching her face, watch him stand and sing for the first time in such a long time was just like, it just touched my little heartstrings.
And it was really cool too, because Casey James even performed his song, which was awesome. We saw that when he performed. So he's just like, he's doing it, you know what I mean? He wants to be this country singer, and all these things are just unfolding for him through this experience.
If I could just add, I mean, his wife being there the whole time is just, Man, having a support system with you, you know, they always say if you want to be successful, surround yourself with successful people. And if you want to do this, surround your people with the same like-minded. You know, if you want to lose weight and you really want to change your life, you need to have people around you that are going to support that. And when I start with a new client that really has a strong goal but is psychologically affected by it from things that their parents have said or friends that their whole lives, first thing I do is go to their spouse if they have one. Literally, I said, what is your husband's number? What is your wife, your boy? Let me talk to him because she needs to be on board with this. If not, it's going to be a difficult start. They need to be supportive of this and have your back when I'm not with you. That's the private investigator.
The private investigator is the spouse.
Yeah, but then, you know, it might be tough at first, but it's something that you guys can grow with together and learn more about each other. You know, friends, family, spouse, whatever it is, like if you're starting a goal, you know, if you're starting a journey, a weight loss journey or a lifestyle change, talk to them. You know, let them know, hey, I'm doing this, guys, and I really appreciate your support because it's going to help. It's going to help motivate, and I just think it's something to openly communicate with people.
Yeah, that accountability factor. And you could tell, I mean, she was not being accountable, holding him accountable, but even more than that, she was hard line about it. It wasn't like, oh, I love you, I'm just going to be really nice and hope you get through this. When it got down to that final moment again in phase 2, because he still didn't, you know, hit the goal that he needed, and, you know, there was that meeting with Chris and Emily and Jayce, and Chris asked him, they said, you know, he said, I think the best thing may be for you to, in phase 3, to come back with me and go to Arizona. And Jayce was like, no, I want to prove I can do it. And of course, again, Chris, knowing who the accountability partner is going to be, went to Emily and asked Emily, what do you think? And the first thing she said was, of course, I don't want you to go, but I think it is the best thing. And that had to be hard.
Yeah, that's really bold, going against, you know, somebody that you love and telling them, hey, I think you need to go back to Arizona. That's hard to do, kind of saying you need to be watched kind of a thing. But, you know, we saw that he did need to go back to Arizona because in phase 3, he also didn't hit his goal.
Yeah, I mean, something that I think is extremely important is ego management and understanding when to put your pride aside and ask for help. And understand that you need it, and it's important. And I see people all the time. You know, first thing that they do, people when they come to my gym, the first thing they do is we have no egos here. You know, we have no egos. We're open to everything. You know, if I request that you know put a lighter weight on or move a certain way, it's because I feel comfortable. It's not about you right now. It's about what I feel comfortable with until I get to know you. And honestly, asking for help is probably one of the best things that you can ever do. And again, check the pride, check the ego, get the help. It's going to help you move forward and develop better relationships.
Yeah, but I liked it because Heidi did say when they were watching him, she was like, no, this is his decision. He needs to do it for himself, which I thought was good because that was a moment where he's like, okay, I need to get back to it a little bit better. And we all fall sometimes, but it's really about going through that hiccup and coming out of it. So
and he was super humble about it. He, you know, when we did go into phase 3, and he was like, all right, I get it, I see I need a little extra help. And he said, I'm a man of my promises. And again, he kept repeating, and I just love this, all he kept going back to was his son saying, Dad, you deserve this.
Yeah, and phase 3 was really difficult for him because not only did he gained more weight, but he lost the custody battle, which was huge for him. So he was under a lot of stress again. And then we saw them with the private investigator. He wasn't going to the gym, or when he did go to the gym, he was there for only 30 minutes. So phase 3 was a little rough for Jayce. It was. And I mean, it's hard. You know, you just lose a custody battle to see your son when what it does seem like a really hostile situation. I mean, that has to be really challenging. The last thing you want to do really is go work out. You know, you kind of want to.
Yeah, and that's the important habit development, and, you know, understanding that, you know, there's this show going on right now, but there's still real life going on behind that camera. You know what I mean? So, you know, being apathetic to that too, but at the same time, like, you know, I thought he did a pretty good job of doing it. He still lost weight. He still moved forward. You know what I mean? So, but.
Yeah. And it's tough because his ultimate goal, of course, you know, obviously to get into that 40% range where he's able to get the skin removal surgery. And again, into phase 3, he still didn't hit it. And I was just rooting for him so much because you can see obviously how much that he wanted it. But what I appreciated about him is that at the end of the day, he was like, I recognize my problems. I see what things I need to change. And to me, it's like if he couldn't recognize that, he was still going to keep falling short every single time.
Yeah, he lost. He lost 14, but his goal was to lose 27, and it was so close. I really wanted him to get the skin removal right then and there, but like you said, he kind of had to go through that to realize, okay, I need to get back at it a little bit stronger. But I was rooting for him. I was like, come on, almost there. Let him have it. Let him have it. But
yeah, I enjoyed the whole process. You know, ultimately, I'm about looking at things realistically, but again, I mean, very optimistic in terms of, you know, losing 14 pounds on your own is not an easy feat.
Not at
You
all.
know what I mean? So especially with everything you had going on. So, you know, I'm always going to want to look at the good part of it, but
Of course.
understand the reality of it. That's, you know, if you can't be realistic with yourself about it, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure in the first place. And but that's why I really did enjoy the whole process, because he still moved forward. He did that on his own. He didn't hit his goal that time, you know what I mean? But you know what? At the end of it, he got the goal, and that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I loved about this is that even when you could see the battles that he was going through, especially obviously when, you know, he found out that his, you know, ex-wife was pretty much found not guilty. And that really could have been one of the stopping points for him. But instead it was like, you know what, I'm going to keep moving forward, and even when I do fall short, I'm gonna figure out how to keep going. And I think, just like you were saying, Nick, I think that's extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, and I mean, again, going back to his son, you know, if he couldn't get past this point, you know, his son might have never held that against him, but he could have held that against himself. And setting an example for our youth is such a big deal, because they're going to set the example for their youth. And they're going to, you know what I mean? So if he sees daddy working hard and losing weight, he's going to want to do the same thing. There's no doubt in my mind that that child was forever affected from this. And that can change the course of his life, which is ultimately going to change the course of generations to come. So it's extremely important for everybody to understand, you know, the effect. You know, take a look at, you know, yourself after watching. It's like, what habits do I have that kids around me or my children are? What am I doing? What message am I giving? So the message he gave there was an uplifting one. It was a perseverance. It was confidence. It was optimism, and it was reaching your goal.
Absolutely.
So,
do you have a lot of kids that come to your gym?
I actually do. I have parents that bring their kids all the time, and I'm very open to, you know, kids want to jump in all the time, and I let them. You know what I mean? Like it's a great opportunity for me to become more patient, but at the same time, they see mom working out, like they want to work out, and I will never deter that. I can't. It's not in my heart. I just can't do it.
I think I'd like to see Jayce and his son work out together.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
I'll follow up.
Right.
No, I think that would be great. Father-son workout motivation.
Yeah.
I think his son should be a trainer. You should train him.
There you go. You never know. But, you know, so obviously into phase 3, we move on. He still didn't hit his goal. He's a little, you know, a little short of it. But he was like, you know what? I see that I need to go to Arizona because that's where I need to be. And that's exactly where he went. And he said that phase 4 was the best phase of everything.
Yeah.
And I wonder, we didn't really get to see exactly the in-depth of, you know, the challenges, the ups and downs, and what really phase 4 was. So my question for you all is, what do you think for him was probably the ultimate change that made phase 4 the best phase that he had of the entire year?
Yeah, I kind of wish we could have seen that too. I was like, wait, what happened? Where's phase 4? And we're at the finale. We're missing this. We're missing this. But I think just going back to Arizona and spending more time with Chris. Chris is just such a motivational person. I'm pretty sure Chris used everything that happened to him in phase 3.
Yeah.
And kind of was like slapping him with it, like, get better, get better. Because, you know, Chris always does that. He always takes the challenging parts and helps people with that to motivate them. So I'm thinking in phase 4 was a lot of just Chris with his talks and getting him and pushing him.
You know, I've heard before, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if you can finish something strong, that shows a lot about your character. It shows a lot about the diligent work that you've done up into that. You know, you're not going to finish strong if you didn't prepare yourself before that. So, you know, it definitely goes to show he definitely put in work for those you know, phase 4 and is it phase 4? Phase
Yeah.
4, okay.
Phase 4.
And I would have liked to see. I think we might have saw a different side of Chris too. I think Chris might have strapped on the boots there, and they might not be able to show it. So no, I'm just playing. He seems like a great guy, great motivational trainer, and but I definitely think he might have kicked it up into high gear as well.
You know who probably really kicked it up in gear that we did not see a light of?
Heidi.
Or Bulldog
I'm
Heidi.
right there with you.
As Josh a couple weeks ago called her. Heidi, because she's got that stern, yet that motherly, yet that like I'm not messing around talk. So something tells me Heidi might have been that X factor.
Pregnant and all.
Pregnant and all. And she is still looking fabulous. Yeah. So we absolutely love Heidi. And so I think she was like that.
I think you're absolutely right. Phase 4, Heidi got in there. Heidi always gets in there. She always knows the right things to say.
She does.
Whether they're like spicy or sweet, spicy or sweet, she gets it done and she tells it like it is. I'm like, whoa, okay, Heidi. Even with the baby in her belly.
Absolutely. And so phase 4, of course, we get to our favorite part, which is the grand finale. And just to see not only Emily, her face, but also to see his parents there. I mean, they were just beyond overjoyed just to see his final transformation.
And they were country, really super country with that accent.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, his dad and his mom were crying the whole entire time. They had tears in their eyes. It was a really emotional time.
Yeah, and he lost a total, because he finally hit his goal.
Finally. Not phase 1, 2, or 3, but phase 4. Yeah. He hit his goal.
And like you said, it doesn't matter how you start or what the middle is, but as long it's how you finish in the end. And he came out victorious.
It's a big deal. And the whole time I was cringing. I'm like, was he going to take off his clothes? I mean, it's 2 pounds right there, So, I definitely, he might have been a little bit less there. But, and then going back to his parents, I can't help, again, I look at the realistic part of it as well. And, they had to have been affected, but at the same time, like, take a look at, if you are a parent now, where are you allowing your child to go? They had a big part in that. They could have helped control that or not, and they let that get out of control. And, they have to take some of that blame on them as well. And that had to be some of the reason why they're so proud as well, because he overcame all of that too, the guidance. So just, again, I really want to encourage people, if you are a parent, what are you allowing your kids to put in their bodies? That is, they don't know any better. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't know. So it's up to us, it's up to parents to dig deeper, get the education, get the knowledge they need to, and not just rely on like, oh, it's quick, it's this, that. Get in there, understand what's going into your kid's body and how it's going to affect the course of their development.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, he started off he was 417 pounds.
Yes.
And he ended up getting down to 229, which is a total loss of 188 pounds.
That's a lot. And he should be very proud about that. He looked really good, too.
He
in
did.
his suit, and his hair was all spiky. He looked really good. He lost a lot of weight. I liked what he looked like from the beginning and from the end. He looked awesome.
I mean, as a trainer, I don't know who feels better at that point, to be honest with you. Helping someone, ultimately you tell them what to do and you give them motivation. So you got to give them, all the credit. But, that's your hard work paying off right there. And, it's just such a great feeling. I can only imagine on that end. But as a trainer, it's so awesome. What an accomplishment. That man he'll leave there that night. Yep. And, and prayerfully he keeps it moving and he keeps his habits going forward. But what an awesome feat. 188 pounds, that's a whole me. That's more than me, like just falling off somebody. You know what I mean? That doesn't just happen. That's burning. I can't get into it because it blows my mind how much he had to literally burn off his body, how much energy he had to generate, and how many things he had to change. And my hat's off to him, both of them, Chris and Jayce. I really, it's
and Heidi
and Heidi.
Always Heidi.
No, I'm with Heidi too.
Heidi.
And not only that, he also announced that he got married right on the grand finale. So they tied the knot, which was really exciting. We love them together.
That's what Heidi said. She's, I'm not getting married unless you hit your goal.
That's probably what it is.
That's probably what it was.
Right.
And I'm not gonna lie, the wedding video, I love the iPads. All technology is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You better whip those iPads out all day. So congratulations to Jayce and to Emily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was a little sad that, Tyler couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But once again, we did see a tweet come out that Tyler and Jayce got to watch tonight's episode together. So that was really exciting to see. He couldn't be at the finale, but he got to see the whole thing unfold on tonight's episode. He watched it with his dad. So I was really excited that they got to spend that time together.
Yeah, and that was really sad just to hear, even the fact that, like, he's gone through this whole transformation this whole year. The same quote in his head that he keeps going over and over again is from his son, Tyler, from saying, "Dad, you deserve it." And then for somebody to rob him of that joy of not being able to allow his son to be there, it's a really difficult thing to watch and to hear.
No.
And just like Jay said, he was like, his mom wants to hurt me, but in all actuality, it's really hurting Tyler. So it was sad to see, but I am glad that they got to watch tonight's episode together.
Yeah, I mean, again, ultimately, this guy's facing challenge after challenge. And, based off what, you watch and you see in his personality, he's starting to look at everything that comes at him as an opportunity.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I'm sure he sees this as an opportunity. And right there, he stated the fact, it ain't about me, it's about him. And, so like I said, he's using it as an opportunity to really focus on Tyler and where they need to move from here. So, like I said, my hat's off to him and his whole mentality shift. And I just really think, and I hope that from here on out, he sees every challenge as an opportunity and not as an obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even he did talk about Tyler, and when Tyler got the opportunity to see him for the first time after losing so much weight, and you could just see his eyes just welling up, and he just kept saying, like, he just couldn't stop, like, touching me, saying, like, I can't believe it, I can't believe it. And I just, even him talking about it, I can just envision that moment, like, in my head.
Yeah, the little kid, like, Dad, you look, where did it all go, Dad? Where is it? Yeah, my mom, she had gastric bypass. So when she shed it all the way, I was just like that too, like, Mom, is that you? And I kept hugging her because hugging was different.
Yeah.
When I would hug my mom, like before, when she, was heavier, it'd be like the big hug.
Yeah.
And then when she lost all that weight, it was like, wait a minute.
Get my
Where
arms all
did
the way
you
around.
go, Mom? Where did you go? So I could totally imagine him doing that. Like, Dad, where are you?
Yep. And then, of course, even in the finale, what I love about Jayce is he always has a heart to, he kept talking about paying it forward. He's like, I want to do this, but I want to be able to give this opportunity and motivate other people as well. And so he was given was it 1 week in boot camp, the Extreme Loss boot camp for a friend, and he gave it to his friend Bob Miller.
That was really nice. And he was crying too. I always get emotional. I see everybody tear up, and I'm like, oh. But 1 week wasn't enough, though, right? I don't think 1 week's enough. But that was really nice.
I was a little disappointed.
You were.
Yeah, he was like, 1 week, only
That's
1 week.
It's all right, though. I mean, you could do a lot in 1 week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like I said, with around the right people, 1 week can be more than. I've had 1 hour with people that have been so honest with me, like, Nick, I cannot afford training at all. I can't afford anything, classes. I say, come with me for 1 hour, take notes. And if you really, really want to make this decision right now, I will teach you enough in 1 hour. I'm more than happy to give you this time to change it. And people have come back to me months later and say, I took those notes and I applied them, and here I am today. They might not be down 188 pounds, but they're down, and they're motivated, and their mentality's different. It's a moment. It's a day by day of decisions, and a week can make a big difference in someone's life.
Yeah, that's very true.
So.
And I know for me, and I'm sure everybody out there that watches the show, I mean, you can't help but just be pulled in so many directions in with emotions, but even more than that, of like being motivated to change or take a look at wherever you are, whether it's weight loss, health, this, that, whatever it is. So for you, Nick, what advice do you have for anybody that's either listening to us or that watches extreme weight loss and needs that motivation to like take that next step towards change?
Oh, man, there's a lot of things I could say, but you ever see that commercial, and the Honda commercial? It's, we all know somebody that knows somebody that owns a Honda. It's, we all know somebody that's overweight. We all know someone or ourselves or someone that, it could be us or somebody else. And again, it's just, what example are you setting? Even if you are blessed enough to have a fast metabolism, and you're not overweight and you don't work out, are you really appreciating what you've been given? So I guess at the end of the day, I would really love to pass the message on, appreciate what you have. Whether you're overweight, whether you're underweight, whether you're right on target, do you work for that? Do you work to maintain that? And also understanding that you're not going to stay this way forever. and that you need to develop the habits now so you can have a longer life then. You know what I mean? So appreciate what you have, develop the right habits now, try to understand the future. Not, look into the future and worry about it, but understand, hey, I'm going to get older. You know what I mean? Things are changing. Food's getting crazy. Prepare yourself,
And on the show, is there one technique that you saw that Chris used that you really like, or what was the best technique that you saw?
Yeah, actually there was. I liked when they, they brought him out in the ocean, that little, to the dock, and he got there and they stepped back. There's got to be that moment. There's got to be that decision where you're gonna either break down that wall or you're gonna break down. And he
That's
broke.
When I was nervous though. I was like,
you
don't
know
leave
what?
him out there.
And another thing I've heard before, another thing I've experienced is you're never gonna grow unless you get outside your comfort zone. And if they kept him comfortable, he wasn't gonna grow. He wasn't gonna ever face that childhood fear of drowning. Right there, that moment, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it, and he passed the test. And I love that because I've dealt with people with lifelong injuries that they've had, and after surgeries, and they're afraid to bend something or move this or go hiking, get up in heights, and helping someone stepping back or stepping forward and doing what they're afraid to do, and be like, hey, look, man, all you gotta do is breathe, visualize, and go for it. I thought that was a great technique. It could be a little unorthodox or people might not comfortable with it, but at the end of the day, if you've dealt with a few people that have fears like that, sometimes that's just what you have to do. And I think Chris uses his discernment and a good judgment that, hey, Jayce, again, part of our job is to not look at what we see, but see the potential that that could be. So he knew that Jayce could do it. He was 100% confident. His job was to get Jayce confident in himself, and I think he did a great job.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm excited to see what happens with Jayce, and of course for next week. So I would love to hear some predictions of what you guys think.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, I think Jayce will definitely keep going, especially with his son there. His son's going to be always whispering in his ear, Dad, Dad, Dad. And I think also, too, Emily, she's going to stick on him. Like, she's been on him, too, like with the smoking and even motivating him to go back to Arizona. So I think he has a great support system, which we talked about that you really need. So I think he's definitely going to keep going and lose more weight.
Yep.
I'm always erring on the side of positivity. I'll never look at someone and say like, oh, they just did this great thing, they're gonna revert, and like I said, I think they did a great job at developing, and again, that's one of those things that, hey, maybe if they didn't force him to get outside that comfort zone in that ocean that day, that could be that point where, like, after the fact, hey, I swam in the ocean that day on my own, like, I can do this on my own.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you just never know at what point during the show, at what point during that year, that they were able to click that over. And I just feel you can't go through an experience like that again. And I hope I think he's going to keep moving forward. I hope that he sets a little bit more of I think he should set a little bit more of a goal.
Yeah, I think he can keep going.
Keep rolling. And, I see him and his son starting to work out together. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Right?
I love that. And not only on the weight loss side of it and all of that, but I mean, he is a songwriter, and his song even came out on iTunes today, Small Town Summertime, which is what we played at the top of the show. So I think that not only is this going to change his life in terms of his health and nutrition, but his confidence is boosted.
Yeah.
And Gretchen Wilson, even she said, I want to hear some of your songs, but I know you're holding on to some of them for yourself. So I would not be surprised. He has a great voice.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a few songs coming out on the radio from Jayce.
What if you performed at Red Rock, where it all began?
That's good.
Yeah, I could see him performing at Red Rock, where it all began, where he had to do the whole sit down, each seat. He's going to be on the stage performing. That's my prediction.
No, I think he's just, I think he's going to be setting a list. He's going to put a list down and be like, all right, let's be a Grammy songwriter. Let's motivate people to lose weight. He's really can set a different life from here.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Extreme Weight Loss. I am your host, Morgan Martin.
I'm Jackie Powell.
And of course, our awesome guest, Nick
Thank you.
Iodonisi.
Thank
I got that
you.
right,
Yes.
right?
Where can they find you at, Nick, if they want to go get their workout
You know
on?
what? Actually, I have a free video blog or YouTube. It's under the name Live Biomechanics, LIVE, then BIOMECHANIX. It's just all, we put free educational workout videos up. We put free circuits up. We put body weight if you're in the office, you're anywhere. So check out the blog or Instagram, Nick Do Work. Twitter, Nick Do Work. And yeah, the blog is really, or YouTube is really where you can get some free good videos.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Anytime.
And, of course, tune in next week as well. Again, Morgan Martin can check me out at ms_Morgan Martin.
And Jackie_POW. Powell.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See you guys next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.